My name is John Milligan, and I have the privilege of leading a short devotional on Ephesians chapter 5, verses 22 through 33. This is the well-known passage on Christian marriage, and honestly, there's been so much preached, taught, written on this passage that it's hard to know what I can add that will contribute. What I can do is perhaps tell some story about how Connie and I have interacted with this passage and how we've learned about it. So the passage has the two main summary statements. Wives, submit to your own husbands as to the Lord, and husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church. So let's begin with the first one. Wives, submit to your own husbands. Really, Paul could have added a second component of that, because for a wife to submit to her husband, the husband has to be leading. So he could have written, husbands, lead your wives as Christ leads the church. So Connie and I have learned a lot about leading and submitting in a very interesting way. We did ballroom dancing for quite some time. It was a long, interesting story of how we got into it and how we were able to do it. But we learned a lot about this. So in ballroom dancing, there's a leader, which is the man, and he initiates the step, and then the woman follows and submits to the step, and that's how the couple goes. The leading is the initiator, and the man is the one that's looking to convey what step he's trying to invite the woman to step into. And he's not telling her, I'm going to do this. He's just leading with his body. And the woman then, by being put into the right position, then naturally submits to and steps into the dance step. We found in our case, the issue was not Connie's unwillingness to submit. She was very willing to submit to my leading. The problem was more, my lead wasn't always very good. And so sometimes what we had to work on was my ability to lead Connie into the step. Now it can be, and I've certainly have danced with some people who did not submit to the step. They anticipated my step. They thought they knew what I was going to do before I did it. And so the term we used was back leading. The woman was trying to lead me inadvertently rather than just submitting. And that creates chaos. That doesn't work. But for us, the issue was more, would the lead convey the step so that Connie could naturally step into it? And that's what we had to work on. And leading is tough. Leading in ballroom dancing is you're trying to think what the step is, you're wanting to put your feet in the right place, but then you're trying to put your body in the right position, and then you're looking to make sure you're not going to run into anybody else, and then you're right into the next step. So it's a challenge to lead, and it takes some training and some planning, and we don't learn to do that naturally as men, I don't think, at least relationally we don't. But if nothing else, leading is initiating, and then the woman is learning to submit. And so that was our practical lesson on submission and the corresponding component of leading. The second part of the verse is summarized by husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church. And boy, what a lofty statement. And I'm so appreciative that in verse 29, Paul brings it down into a little bit of a practical level when he talks about husbands loving their wives as their own bodies, which we nourish and cherish. Well, nourish and cherish, I can understand even a little better. Nourishing is what we do when we convey physical preparation or physical provision and a spiritual and emotional provision. And then cherishing is holding in high esteem, in high honor, and really above all else, and certainly above all other people. So that brings the idea of loving as Christ loves into a little bit of a practical way of nourishing and cherishing. So I hope these thoughts are helpful. My prayer for you is, as I would pray for me and for us, that we would continue to grow closer to Christ as we grow in loving and submitting. And pray God's blessing on you today.